Hey everyone, I'm Justin LaLiberty, the Director of Operations for OCN Distribution, and I am joined today with Kyle Greenberg, the Head of Marketing and Distribution for Utopia. Thank you for coming aboard, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna start, just talking about Utopia and who Utopia is. So, can you talk about how Utopia got started and how you became involved with the company?
Yeah, so the company was founded a little over 3.5 years ago now. Started by two guys named Robert Schwartzman and Cole Harper. Robert kind of, might be most well known for being a musician. Plays still with a band called Rooney, but a super talented filmmaker. Made some movies called The Unicorn, Argument, Dreamland. Has some great roots in the entertainment industry as well, with his family. And Cole came kind of more from the, I guess, tech finance kind of sort of world. And yeah, I met them soon after the company started and had acquired their first film, Errol Morris's American Dharma. And our kind of backgrounds just all kind of converged in interesting ways. I had spent about 10 years in independent distribution, mostly with startups. Also, that kind of like skewed into the tech sector. And, we just spoke a lot about Robert's experience in the music world, also as an independent filmmaker, the frustrations we had all seen at independent distributors over the years, wanting to kind of put more ownership and, creativity in the filmmaker's hands, and also kind of take few more risks on the distribution end. So yeah, kind of stemmed out of kind of all these shared desires, interests, background. And, I started up with the company on, the first slate of films. And, we've kind of grown from, I guess you could say, a boutique to now, really kind of um, what we hope is a competitive, independent, studio, where, we're actually now producing movies as well.
If there's a mission or just sort of a guiding principle to the curation of Utopia and like the films you acquire, what would that be?
I think we like to think of ourselves as genre agnostic, where we're not focused on any one specific genre. We've worked on anything from, drama to foreign language, documentary, horror. But, I think the kind of through line would be like an emphasis on discovery. We like to think of ourselves as supporting kind of a new wave of filmmakers when we can. Definitely looking at risk takers, art house acclaim, music films. So yeah, I mean, we try to obviously have a bit of a curatorial approach when we're looking at titles, and not necessarily kind of boxing ourselves in with one specific genre, theme, whatever.
So one of the things with Utopia that's different from a bunch of the other labels that we work with at OCN is that you're actively releasing films in theaters, you're actively releasing films digitally, and then there's this home video line that we handle through OCN. Can you talk about how you decide, which films get theatrical, which films get digital, and ultimately, which films land on home video, and kind of how those audiences differ, or what you're, kind of how you decide each of these things?
Well, I think from day one, we always did think of ourselves as a company that would be theatrical and event oriented, and really put an emphasis on creating kind of physical moments. And, obviously when COVID hit, that was when the lack of physical became so evident. And, really when we, decided we had already waited too long to initiate Blu-rays and physical materials for our films. So yeah, I mean, a handful of our films have gone digitally, might just, go to streaming. A lot of our films, have a earlier theatrical window ahead of digital, ahead of Blu-ray. There's always kind of variables, and we like to kind of think there's no cookie cutter sort of approach, one size fits all approach for any of our movies. So everyone has its own kind of distinct rollout per se. But we're also taking on the rights for films across many years. So sometimes something that's not hitting Blu-ray right away might end up hitting it later. Um, and just kind of looking at what the audience's responses to the movie, what the market responses to the movie. We might have films we pick up from day one and already getting physical media requests for. But it really is something that we're kind of also thinking about from day one, at the acquisition point. It's like, how can we really release this film across multiple mediums again, and create something again that hopefully is distinct to that project.
The first release we worked with you on and was a movie that I really love, Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets, and we're 2 years out from that release now, and there's been over a dozen other Utopia home video releases. And I'm curious as to kind of how you see, that film in hindsight, or that release in hindsight, and how you see, the Utopia line kind of having grown in that 2 year period of time.
Yeah, I think Bloody is such a special film in our catalog for so many different reasons, and it's still, I feel like, the perfect film to kind of kick off this physical line with. But in a way, I guess there's this subversive element to the film where what it is not exact, or what it seems is not exactly what it is. And I think a lot of our movies have that sort of subversive element. Certainly, something like Holy Spider coming up, just kind of rings a similar bell, although such different films. And, the Ross brothers, just two incredible filmmakers who, I think hit that kind of model of hands-on creative. They just bring so much to the table. There was a wealth of material to work with for this movie, and always kind of down to create as well. So yeah, I mean, it's the sort of film that I think can be revisited in many different ways. The sort of movie that for me warrants that physical media experience. And I know we just really had a solid lineup of bonuses on that one too.
So speaking of bonuses and just kind of that physical media experience, what excites you personally about physical media, and also just having these films that you're championing, that you're working with theatrically, digitally, that you're spending this time with? We both know that when you work on a film project, like, it's time. There's a lot of people see, oh, this was in theaters, now it's on Blu-ray, but that can gestate for a year, longer. So how do you see that now, with the workflow going from theatrical to Blu-ray, and what excites you about the Blu-ray release after you've spent so much time already with these films for, every other purpose?
I mean, I think I still like to think of myself as a fan and collector, even though, I'm working on our own releases, but, I'm always kind of constantly kind of looking at what other labels are dropping, and exploring kind of like how I can kind of expand, I guess, my palette per se. And I think the beauty of the OCN kind of partner label is you guys are working to showcase so many different kind of brands, for lack of better words. Like, I think there's just such variety in what we're all providing. And obviously, we all are also always looking to folks like Criterion and Arrow. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's, kind of just a natural extension of like these films' lives. Like, I think it would be a shame to know that these films are only ever living on digital after they come out in theaters. And, we know there's an audience for films on physical media. I think, a lot of folks out there, are wary of buying films on digital these days, which is fine. Some folks prefer it. And, obviously, just as a distributor, it's part of our goal to ensure that we're catering to as wide of an audience as we possibly can, and also obviously putting as much thought into it. So yeah, for me, the excitement is as a fan first, but then, as a distributor, it's like we want to keep making these releases better and, provide more for that former fan.
So, without revealing, too much title-wise or date-wise or anything, what can fans expect from Utopia in the near future? Before the end of the year, I guess.
Well, we've announced a few of our recent or upcoming releases, such as Ali Abbasi's Holy Spider, which is going to be a really big one for us end of this year. And, you can look for that at TIFF, which has already been announced, and a handful of other really great festivals, which will be announced soon. We have Anvil, the story of Anvil, which is a re-release and restoration of the classic cult rock doc. And then we'll soon announce another really excellent music doc that'll kind of be lining up our slate at end of next year. So yeah, I think there's a mix of kind of what I talked about, a lot of incredible music, a big end of year awards push, and we also have a few films we've announced out of Slam Dance recently, The Civil Dead, Therapy Dogs, that I think stick to our kind of desire of discovery and, kind of this upcoming future of filmmaking. So, I already know a handful of those might be hitting our partner line. And yeah, definitely look for them in theaters, festivals in the near future.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I'm really excited about everything coming up from Utopia and glad to have you on.
Thanks so much for the support, Justin. Talk to you soon.